So I wake up this morning and I see a message, and it's Access Rattblood. Are you here, Rattblood?
Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood.
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
I'm not just fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood, I see. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
Are you here, Rattblood?
I'm not just fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood.
Most abundant and successful king hero that we are all sitting at this very moment. Are you willing to accept that as a truth? That you are a worthy man and that your penis is okay?
All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now.
Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood. Access Rattblood.
Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood?
Who the fuck is Access Rattblood?
I'm not just fucking Rattblood, bitch.
All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm not just fucking Rattblood. Okay, friends and enemies of YouTube. Let's try this again. This is take 2. Apparently, there are lots of technical issues happening in the metaverse and its ability to function as a useful tool, or at least for me. I haven't had my equipment ever pull some of the bizarre quantum effects that I'm enduring at this moment. But could be the information, or it just could be more of the delusion. Either way, it doesn't seem to be a problem at the moment. But if there is a problem, please in the chat let me know. Because apparently there are issues out there, and I don't want to lose a show to aggravations of trying to come across on a less than productive platform. Anyhow, as I was saying, testing yourself, your safety protocols, and your fears, whether you put your fears there yourself through learned experience or whether somebody put the fear in you. Kind of, and it's a control. It's a type of control when it comes to organized organized or mass influence as to what is safe and what is not safe. We're told that we're being kept safe by a bunch of people that control militaries and control very powerful weapons and armaments and are quite capable of, at any point in time, redirecting their attention towards us in a hostile way, but yet they say that they're keeping us safe. Well, to me, that's a fool's gamble. I'm not going to sit in the same camp with a man that has a loaded gun and I have none, and he's telling me that he's going to keep me safe. Bullshit. That I have to do some absolute reflective thinking on, and not only keep track of this guy's movements, intents, or whether it be a woman, because they're just as dangerous. I mean, a woman's persuasion and influence can sometimes be just as deadly as someone who has an actual kinetic weapon or a club. I've lost a few friends to suicide because they lost out on love, and they thought that this other person truly cared for them the same way that they cared back, and it turned out to be an illusion. It turned out to be a lie. They didn't entertain the ideal that this person may not actually care for them. And they endeavored forward with the complete delusion and illusion that this person was as committed to them as they were to that other person. And had they rationalized it and really examined the situation for what it was, they might still be alive to this day. But who can say? I wasn't as versed at that point in time in my life to be able to offer that information to them, nor do I think that they would have listened. I don't think that was within their realm of thinking. But being jaded to the level that I was able to be jaded, and seeing the guys that love good intent, I'm here to protect you, I'm here for your best interest. All these things are guises to infiltrate you so that you will lower your defenses, so that you will allow them in. And when they get inside, you then are subjected to potential damages that they can do. But when you open that playground up, which is the mind, the you, your being, and you take down all the measurements and you remove the expectations and you remove the illusion and you remove all the assumed things that you've allowed yourself to believe, and they find themselves playing in your backyard then, if you've achieved the point to where you can operate without measurement. And it's that measurement that will stop you, will make you, and will break you. Because when you put measurement to something, whether it's how far a friend will go for you financially, or how far someone will love you until they go, whoa, I can't love you any further because I've reached a dead stop. I've reached my measure. But yet your field is still open to endless, endless realms of possibility. And you do not present the measure, you just present the possibility. Then you can truly see how people move and operate. And you can see that any type of infiltration into your mind that they can get, whether it's through force, authority, whether it's through manipulation of, I'm here to help you. I'm here to make sure your best interests are, brought to the forefront. Or, I feel safer truly around knowing that there are more people out there that wish me harm and give little to no shit about me than to fall into a state of illusion that potentially someone gives enough shit that I should let them inside of my world, inside of my mind, and to a playground that is as vast as possibility itself. All they're doing is showing me the measure of themselves and their intent. And believe me, everyone has an intent, whether it's self-preservation, whether it's a directive, or whether it's a financial agreement they've made with a company to do some type of job. Because I've had to endure the medical field for quite some time now. And believe me, 99% of these people that I've dealt with could give shit less about my health, my well-being, or my stability mentally, or me as a person, had they not been paid for it. Now, if there wasn't cash incentive involved, they wouldn't have even so much as knew my name, more or less where I lived, or dared to enter my home. But because of money and because of their need for it to survive, and the healthcare industry being a fairly lucrative industry, we get some of the most damaged people there is. The sick trying to help the sick. And to me, that is a no-win situation. When you're sending people into my localized environment and they're more damaged than I am, and these people are supposed to what? Take care of me? Watch out for my best interest? No, they're infiltrators. They want to scoot in just enough that they can be comfortable in my environment, in my presence, that they can sustain themselves with some type of dignity that they seem to be pursuant of comfort, and still get a paycheck at my expense. And I recognized this a long time ago, dealing with the, especially with the mental health industry. That was a real eye-opening endeavor in my life, because these people are, oh man, they're just as damaged, if not more damaged, and indoctrinated and held by rules, laws, and systems of conduct and code. And all their job is to get you to be functional in a society where you might be lucratively valuable, or They've even found ways to make money off of you being damaged. Either way, your person and who you are is not of interest to them, just your functionability. And that's the same with the healthcare industry that I'm enduring right now and that I'm up against. Is these people come into my world and they want to make themselves comfortable. They want to make themselves uh, feel, uh, I don't know, self-invited, you know, and they want to carve out a niche and a spot for themselves so that they, saying from their own mouths, they're there for my health and best interest, but yet they're doing everything in their power to make themselves comfortable. And they're benefiting financially from this, and they're usually, like I said, more so damaged than what I would consider myself to be. Because damage is something that compiles up, almost like a vessel at sea, or what me and a friend of mine tend to call the recreational vehicle, the body. It can sustain so much damage until it no longer functions, unless you do the repairs, unless you do the maintenance, unless you take care of that vehicle. And if you need assistance and help, like a mechanic, um, it's probably best that they know the make and the model of your recreational vehicle and its limitations and its unbound possibilities, which is everybody sets a negative a concept of negative reinforcement as to this is where things stop. This is where it ends. This is where I go no further. This is this is what my objective is I'm going to make myself comfortable at your expense. And when they find themselves privileged enough to be in the healthcare industry and damaged enough to take on such an endeavor, that's their main objective. First, they make themselves comfortable at your expense, and then they try to convince you that they're there for your best interest at your expense, and they're no different than the military industrial complex who says, we're here to protect you. And I think that's more relevant now than ever. And if you have safety protocols and you feel like you're living in some type of gated community within your own mind, and you think that whether it be some spiritual endeavor that you've dedicated yourself to, or some physical paralysis, or whatever it may be, um, you're you're not being protected. You're not being cared for. You're actually becoming an extension of their damage. You're becoming a mode of operation for them to express their shortcomings, their measurements, and their inabilities to infinitely expand their horizons. And these people generally have not went within inside themselves deep enough to even scratch the surface. More or less offering the possibility on a YouTube platform or by some verbal stewage that they have your best interest in mind, or they're there to help you, or they want to show you how to vibe high or how to eliminate that problem from your life, or they're going to show you a possibility of some horrid scenario that may or may not be relevant, may or may not be true, but you will buy into it at some level. You will either discard the information and move on to a channel which more more suits what information you choose to um, absorb, because people don't tend to sit and listen to things that they don't feel they don't, that's not catering to them in some way, such as music. You know, everybody has their choice in music, and they're going to listen to the music that caters to them. And whether it's good or bad or indifferent, you know, it's subjective. But there was an incident with the PMRC uh, back during the Satanic Panic days, and they tried to blame music for suicides, and they tried to blame the influence of this music on these kids, and said that that led them to commit atrocities and delete themselves, and this music has to be put under some type of stipulation or control, and we have to put warnings out. And believe me, the church has made big on this, because the government threw up an adversary flag that they could jump on: devil music, satanic panic, PMRC, warning labels, um, what age you could listen to certain music, hear certain words. And all they were saying is that we don't want your mind to experience these ideals, concepts, and we are better in control of your best interest if we don't allow you to experience this music, which we deem to be dangerous. And if you look back at the PMRC and the some of the more wonderful minds out of the music industry that did stand up and did come forward to defend musical rights and uh, speech and even frequency and vibration, if you want to come down to it, you know, heavy metal, you know, black metal, gothic, industrial, you know, dark. It's just them trying to initiate what they feel is in your best interest. And when they start trying to control frequencies and vibrations in an entertainment situation, but yet they are using frequencies and vibrations on a military and a socially harmful level that you can't even see. The effects are real. That's self-evident, and they utilize them for the means of communication, and they claim that they're within the range of what would be in your best interest. But if you do a little research, you'll find they're not by any shapes or means. And that's the same with another human. If you engage with them, for this or any other human to claim that they have as much love for you as you have for yourself, I call bullshit on that, because I know how unbound my process of interpretation can be. And I know from that, people have revealed their limitations and exposed themselves for who and what they truly are, their objectives. They even expose their fears, um, their concerns, and they try to vicariously uh, amplify them through you, whether you be listening to a channel, whether you be listening to somebody who claims to have some information that is detrimental to your well-being, or whether they're just outright fucking with you. Um, One way or the other, they're amplifying themselves through you. And this is an old process for the weak-minded and those that have many safety protocols and limitations, and especially the indoctrinated, even those that claim to be open-minded and deep thinkers. Deep is a measurement. Open-mindedness is a plane. And that's a limitation. And I'm not going to allow, and nor should you, anyone, to influence your own self reality to theirs. Do not become a device of amplification for sickness. There's so much more potential in not measuring and not sizing things up, and to allowing that which is just to be with all realms of possibility at your fingertips. You will stunt your own growth with your limitations. And when you start using words like good, bad, right, wrong, light, dark, you're indicating measurements. And you are such a small spectrum on the scale of sensory interpretation. That means what you can taste, touch, smell, feel, so forth, so on. You hold such a minuscule scale of being able to observe that what is potential beyond that is much more relevant and tangible to frequency, energies, vibrations, true cycles, movement. And I think a lot of that is where people start to loop, as they call it, repeating the same thing over and over instead of allowing what is to be the is of the situation, um, taking it for the relevancy of the matter, processing it, and moving forward, keeping that which is useful and discarding that which is uh, maybe not so useful or potentially damaging. And until you come to that understanding within yourself to know the difference, you are subjected to every influence that you allow to penetrate your ears, your eyes, even that which you speak, your actions. And then when you apply some reward system to it, such as money, well, that's absolute control. And then when you back that money with the potential of punishment, taking that money away, or even utilizing enforcement for your best interest, well, you then become a personification of their amplified projection of authority or safety or whatever package they decide that they're going to present it to you in, and whether you're going to accept it or not, instead of just allowing potential, all potential, to be present, but not necessarily engaged in. You don't have to, just because somebody told you that this is good or bad information, to affect your consumption of that information. And that's what I come to, was all information, whether you can handle it or not, is just information. And if you're incapable of handling that information, then you will set your boundaries, and you will set them well, and you will measure yourself. Because every time that you come to a place where you go no, or you stop, or your mind is hesitant, or becomes uncomfortable realms of thinking, uncomfortable realms of being, then that's your measure, and that's where you stop. And until you get past that, that is your maximum potential. And they utilize this system of measurement to be able to infiltrate an individual's mind. And they start setting up measurements. And they start setting up, they basically set up shop in your head as to where you can and cannot go, as to what you can and cannot think, as to what you can or cannot endure. And they set your guideline. And as much as you would like to think that you are in absolute control of your cerebral world and your being, you will find, if you take a deep enough look, I hate using the word deep because it is a measurement, but if you take a broader spectrum of observation, you will see that they have programmed you well. Even those that think that they are outside of that system of programming, even those that think that they are the anomaly to the situation, the fact is they're still ruled by that information, and they still function within the guidelines of that information, and it's generally within a spectrum that is relevant to the senses. And like I said, that's a very small spectrum. It's when you start playing in realms of infinite possibility within the mind that has no safety protocol, and entertaining concepts, possibilities, ideals, examining potentials and all potentials, and hosting that infinite state within yourself, then they no longer are able to apply a measurement to you. And when you fall outside of that realm of measurement, that's generally when they start putting labels on you. Quack, weirdo, freak, Satanist, insane, lunatic, crazy. And even those people that want to project their inadequacies upon you by getting you to believe that you're mentally inferior to them, or that your information is irrelevant, and what they have to offer is so much more than what you could potentially muster up, and they will beat you down with their verbal tongue lashings and their brow beatings, and they will show you the measure of their limitation. And their limitation happened to be you, because they could not persuade you, or they could persuade you to buy into their projection. When in actuality, it's a decision that you can make as to whether you want to apply and subject yourself to those limitations or those influences, or whether, as a soft observer, you just sit back and watch the is develop, and you watch the is in motion. It doesn't mean that you have to become a part of the persistent and interact with it in some meaningful way that seems substantial in an exchange of information between you and somebody else. People aren't that considerate of you, believe me. They're not that considerate of me, and I do know that. I have put that to the test. And I have seen every kind of radical state of of reaction to everything from me using frequencies and the reaction to it, to me using taboos and the reaction to it, me even using projections of infinite possibility and what the implications of that are, and that's a part of the inadequacy of self that they will encounter, is the idea of measuring up. Measuring up to what? If you have to measure up to something, then that's a measurement of expectation. Whose expectation? Because if you're going to truly endeavor into a state of being, then that encompasses realms of possibility that you haven't even begun to achieve some state of measurement for. And it governs you. And it basically sways your movement. It is an influence upon you as a resonant, because these are things that you cannot see. These are things that most people in their entire life, and until modern times generally, maybe pre-cataclysmic times, they were probably much more aware, and various other cultures, of the how things unseen affect you. Put it there. And as people ride the tide of suggested influence, measurement, beliefs, and how far they're willing to go, they've already been set in motion, and most people aren't ever going to be able to break free from their own self-measurement, because they can't measure up to what others want them to be, or what others expect of them. Is a preoccupation with somebody else's perceived interpretation of you, when it's not relevant. The interpretation of yourself should be the most relevant thing to you. Know thyself. And quit allowing people to lie to you. And no matter how wonderful or threatening the package may be and how it may present itself, you are your own worst enemy as far as who comes to your mental doorway. And I've found that most people, their doors are open to certain types of guests, um, generally selectively, but the potential for them to be unaccommodating for influence, control, manipulation, to become unaccommodating for housing lies and deceptive motives and thoughts. That's the opposite end of the mode of operation for society. That requires individual thinking. That requires individual processes. That requires an individual state of awareness. And I spent many, many, many days um, in silence, deep within the recesses of my mind, in places where eagles dare to go, just to come back and realize that where I start, most people stop. Where I choose to go, that's the end of the road for most. And I've lived damn near my whole life like this. And I've always tried to be somewhat mindful of other people as shared beings on this plane of existence. But I guess as time has cycled on, or cycled movement, I don't like to be imposed upon. I don't like to resonate somebody else's amplified idealism. I have my own. And it is vast. And there's not many safety protocols there anymore. I do pay attention to myself whenever I'm around sharp objects or other things of that nature. You know, we got to keep certain things in perspective. I mean, having no safety protocols and dumping 10 boxes of razor blades in your bed and jumping into it to go to sleep at night is probably something you should think about before you attempt. Or I'm not telling you how to perceive that information. I'm just bringing that up as a possibility and how unlimited possibility can be. I'm almost ashamed to say that I'm a part of the species that is the dominant species, or seems to be at the moment, the dominant species that governs this plane, um, in a physical sense. And where we have gone, what we have developed, and we really went nowhere. We truly have went nowhere. I would like to think that we were a species that could endeavor beyond expectation. But from my perspective, we have eliminated that possibility. And it seems to be progressively more intrusive, which means that I have become more aware of ways that they're trying to influence um, and limit my thinking, my ability to perceive. And to me, that's defeatist, and that's working for somebody else's agenda. And I don't know that if any of you could really truly remove the amount of safety protocols you have in place for yourselves. I dare to say not. I dare to say that most of you are going to be defined and measured by your safety protocols. And individuals such as myself will have to continually proceed forward defending ourselves against your safety protocols if we choose to endeavor in such a thing. So take a moment and be very silent. Approach the resistance that you find within yourself with an acceptance to understand and remove the limiting stifleness that comes with it. You know, below me is an entire chat room that is filled with emptiness. And that's almost what I would be expecting from the rest of the world if they weren't being paid or there wasn't some incentive for them to respond with something that would even dignify their own existence. And they listen with judgmental ears, and I think that it's amusing. One of the more uh, stigmatized organizations would be the Masons. I mean, these guys are obviously stuck on measurement, square, compass, being on the level, you know, taking a measurement of someone's character, um, geometry, degrees. I mean, shit, man. No wonder they don't have special Masonic toilet paper that is numbered and angle and dimension hidden in a little book at the bottom of the toilet paper package that only secret people could read to understand what they're wiping their ass on. But they are stigmatized and they are represented most boldly with measurement. They like to measure everything. And therefore, I suppose that makes them an easy target for ridicule, persecution, and speculation because you don't what? You don't think you know what they know? Or do you think they know something that is so profound that it could affect your ego-bound safety protocols, or even the relative manner of which an algorithm collects data and turns it into numbers and regurgitates it at you. But what nobody's looking at is these numbers are you. These numbers and algorithms are reflections of what you are, what you've become, and what you won't ever be, and what you have not become. It takes all the information and it processes it into sometimes an almost interpretable, uh, mostly imagery, but there is number attached to it, variables. But it's all a reflection of you. You know, you can't take a machine learning AI, stick it in a room that has no information coming in or out and expect it to do anything more than be the sum and total of a devoid room of information. You're just pissed off that it got the upper hand on you. You're just pissed off that it was able to take measure of you, and it was able not only to take measure of you, but it was able to reflect that back and show you your limitations and your shortcomings and your belief systems of safety. And you see it as the enemy, as this potential and approaching wave of technology that could what? Cause you harm because you allowed it to take measure of you? I think you'll get what you deserve. And I think that allowing anything to take measure of you, or you to set a measurement for yourself with safety protocols, limitations, irrational fears, which was in the first part of this stream that I was going through some serious technical difficulties. I don't know what the hell was happening with the technology at that moment. Maybe it quantized itself. A sad lot you are. It's what machine learning and AI isn't able to perceive, what it isn't able to interpret, what it isn't able to measure. That is to your advantage. That is where AI and machine learning stop. Because it has nothing to take a measurement of or information to process to make a conclusive decision or a reaction, then it can do nothing except feed on itself, which is what most humans do. They'll reach a certain point, and once information is no longer being fed to them, such as whenever a person feels that they've reached a level of maturity or education and they quit right there. They got their degree, they got their master's, they got whatever it is, piece of paper that says, you don't have to study this anymore because your measurement is that we determined you have achieved this standard and no need to proceed any further. What a fucking limitation, right? And especially whenever you have a bunch of other people that have the same type of concept of measurement, reinforcing the belief that you have achieved some state of accomplishment. At least artificial intelligence and machine learning knows as long as there's information and input, there is no degree of success. There is no degree of accomplishment. There are only potentials that have not been achieved. And as much as humans are stigmatized, indoctrinated, and superstitious, they got you out the gate. You don't stand a damn chance because you've defeated yourself before you started. And I don't think many of you are actually going to catch this. But this is the first process in which you will have to endure to be able to remove safety protocols. This is the first process in freeing yourself from your own limitations. To being the true observer of a state that you endeavor upon without interference. And I'm not sure that many of you are even going to catch that, you know. Like I said, the chat box area is empty with nothing more than an invitation to join me on this panel. So I find, as I would expect and have expected with this particular stream, for them both to be empty. For what truly do you have to offer up but your measurement? So that I can see you for your limitations, your expectations, your hopes, dreams, disappointments, shortcomings, successes, failures, every observable state outside of yourself except the true you. And then you expect people to be relative to you, just as one time I did. I expected people to, for some reason, I was under the delusion that people actually cared about me, not the physical body, not the acceptable ideals that they're comfortable with, but the me that is beyond their ability to understand, the me that is beyond their comprehension, the me that they're not willing to stand up to and go, okay, let's see how far this goes, because I don't see any end. And that's where AI, algorithms, and all this technology has taken you. It's taken you to a measurement of yourself. Taking a minute to ponder that, and I think you should too. It may be your only saving grace when it comes down to plugging your head into a neural lace or a digital chip, information that cannot be measured processed, identified, or analyzed. And upon that, I'm going to take a minute to reflect. And I'm going to reflect on a cigarette and a drink of coffee and just a moment of understanding that remove the measurement. Okay. I've regathered myself to myself and engaged in my iniquity and my nasty habits, and I dare to bare my naked self into a public platform of judgmental finger pointing, um, arrogant, egotistical, conceptual idealists that believe themselves to be significant in the grand scheme of things, but you know what? You're not. You're really not. Until you can outthink your environment, and I'm talking both natural and manipulated, you're subjected to it, as well as I find my physical state being there at times, more so than I care to be. But that's my own personal demons, my own personal shortcomings. I suppose you can measure me by that if you choose, but that's not where I start or stop. It's just part of the journey. It's amazing that during what I call peak hours of movement, uh, unless you're capable of receiving uh, YouTube from other countries and other time zones that are far removed from westernized and localized time zones, there's a dead period. There is a period in which all these clamoring mouths rattling their likes and dislikes and observances, and they all go silent. And it's but a handful, a very few, that find themselves roaming around the back streets of YouTube and coming out in the hour of the rat to see what morsels lying around left over from the day's endeavor. It's almost peaceful, such as when a city shuts down and everyone goes home and resides in their little hovels and huts and watch their TVs or live in their minuscule environments, and things go quiet in the city, and a lot of the frequencies and energy and entropy and thermodynamics of things slow down, and there's almost a sense of calm that comes with that. And I found that on YouTube, there are certain particular hours, and I am subscribed to many channels, and they all just seem to go silent, as if they're tucked away in their little beds or their little worlds, preparing for their next endeavor in the metaverse. And some people I noticed have taken a particular turn for the what I consider to be the worst, because it is limiting to any potential monetization. Monetization is what destroyed YouTube. The idea that you can make a buck off of information. The idea that just with the health, same as the healthcare industry, um, you could monetize information and you could make a fairly lucrative living at it at one point in time, and until it became relevant that anybody could pull this stunt off with proper idiosyncratic things falling into alignment. And now it's an endeavor of self-censorship and limitation to throw up some type of monetization on your channel. And then it's a hopeful expectation of the poor that somebody will actually throw $1 in your direction or donate to you because what you have to say is so fucking valuable that people should pay for it. But yet, I was presented with the ideal that all information should be freely given. Well, isn't that a contradiction? That is a serious contradiction in the endeavor that is social media. When you're on the opposite spectrum and nothing is monetized, you believe that all information should be free. But the minute that you become monetized, you suddenly think that you should be paid for your services, and somehow that the day before when you weren't monetized is different than today when you are monetized. And I've watched several channels come to a devastating end chasing the dollar on YouTube instead of the potential and the possibility. Yeah, clout chasers, fools and fools. Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be a spreading disease amongst these particular platforms because there was a time when, like a boom town in the Old West, YouTube was lit up 24 hours a day. And man, it was an infinite amount of information being exchanged without expectation of all varieties and types. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by your measurements. And now, now just like a fucking city, there are periods of quiet when it's not as financially equitable. Whenever people aren't throwing dollars at your poor broke ass for information that really holds little to no value whatsoever, as much as you might think it does. The only true information that holds any value is contained within you. And if you seek it outside of you, it's only learned information and retrievable information and knowledge that you will probably forget in a day or two anyhow. So spend those dollars well and weave that web of magic that seems to be present because that's what it is. It's an evil spell. Just like when you're presented with the concept of unconditional love or your expectation of being loved, and it comes to a horrific end, and you're left with this sickness, and it feels like a physical sickness. which is kind of like the hangover that you get from a drunk. If you've thrown a drunk, you know, you enjoy it while it's happening, and the illusionary state of it seems to be just overwhelmingly comfortable. And then the next morning when you wake up and the effects of it have wore off, you come to the stark reality that everybody at the bar went home without you. And they're all waking up to the same concept of everybody went home without them. And those that did hook up or whatever transpired is probably going to be a short-lived endeavor within itself of a type of self-gratifying use of another human, whether it be emotional, sexual, whatever, entertainment. And that's kind of how I view YouTube. Yeah, it has the same effect. And if you can evade just enough for people to want to take you into their personal space, they will only do so long enough to fulfill some need that they want to utilize you for, and then once that's done, over with, and gone, they will discard you. And you will be left with that same lack of satisfaction as someone who expects to be loved unconditionally. And that seems to be something that people talk a lot about. People seem to think that love holds some saving grace for our species, when in actuality, when you look at it statistically and you put a measurement to it, you'll find that its success rate is not very high. Not very high at all. As a matter of fact, it's usually a losing investment. And it turns into a struggle for who can come out with the better end of the struggle, which once was an unconditional acceptance of another person, or so you thought, until you found out that there were limitations that you set for yourself that you didn't even realize you had, and this other individual brings them out of you, and suddenly you look at them with some type of hostility, whether they earned it or not, and they're subjected to it, and therefore you have resistance. And the illusion of unconditional love immediately fades from sight. And you're left with a belly full of sick, nasty, sticky, pink, gut-wrenching satisfaction that has been unfulfilled because it can't sustain. I've yet to see a degree, whether it be within indoctrinations, religions, or anything else, anyone capable of an unconditional type of acceptance or love. It always has a degree and a measurement of where you're going to allow it to start and stop. And people should start looking at these platforms that they go on and people that they listen to with the same scrutiny as to where they start and they stop. Because if you have no limitations and you're hanging around a bunch of platforms that have limitations, then their limitations are going to become your limitations. and you will wear them accordingly. And most of the time, you don't even realize you've been infiltrated and that you've become a cheerleader to a no-win situation that is a limited hangout and just a small state of familiarity. But I don't even know that there's enough mindedness left within the human species to recognize that anymore. I really question that because I see how easily people are discarded. And not much unlike each individual who presents themselves on a public platform, whether it be guest, host, or chatter, they have an interaction that they feel to be substantially valuable or um, worthwhile to express. And as I said, some monetize on it, some truly believe their own bullshit, and some will give you a limited measurement of themselves. But don't be deceived. At the end of the day, the only person waking up inside your head is you. If you're fortunate enough to wake the fuck up in your own head, I would say that the most percentage of you wake up with somebody else's concepts and ideals and beliefs in your head. And you never really took the time to critically think about concepts and ideals that you've chosen to fill your source of reserved and accessible information and knowledge. And you're just parroting, speaking aimlessly of things that you've encountered and have taken on as learned information and are capable of repeating to some degree or measure. And you wear these like proud feathers onto the field of battle in the metaverse, not realizing that you're exposing yourself to your own limitations. And like I said, that's where AI got you. That's where you fell short. Because when you look at artificial intelligence and the implications that it has, it doesn't know limitations. It doesn't know boundaries. It doesn't recognize character. Almost kind of like the description of the Old Testament God. It just operates. And it has a directive. And if you listen closely to what I've said, you will give it no measurement. Give it no indication of where you start or stop. And that's a piece of information that you should use approaching damn near everything, from people that enter your life to information and books that you allow yourself to be subjected to. Observe it, take what you can utilize from it, but don't become it. Lest it become you. And I really hate to break the mundane ambiance of this moment, but I am still somewhat human, and I need to eat this food, but I do not want to do so while trying to speak to an audience of information seekers and measurement takers. So let me throw something out there. Let's see, do we have anything here that we can remotely? Here we go. And I shall return in just a moment. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to quickly ingest that. Um, it's easier to, I suppose, vomit information out upon the metaverse with a full stomach than it is to sit and ponder how many starving people there are on the face of this plane of existence who only dream of being able to receive the convenience of nourishment or food. I would say it's probably about the same number of pregnancies worldwide that happen that were not planned. And that's not to say that they hold any significance to one another. It's just a statistic. The fact that it is easier to become pregnant and engage in a mutual act that creates life and an unexpected result happen from it, such as childbirth. This seems to be much more, it's much easier than acquiring food in some places. And I suppose the relevancy of that in a particular way could be that if you have no food to eat and you're not fortunate enough to have nourishment, it makes perfect sense. Have sex and reproduce. Shows the extent of the development of our species and exactly how much compassion there is in this realm of existence towards your fellow species. I mean, if you can't feed them, let them reproduce until there's so many that they become a statistic, something to measure. And then we can measure the fortunate by those who are not quite as fortunate and those that are truly misfortunate. And with that measurement, we can build a statistic on exactly how much monetary fluctuation and energy we're going to put into a situation. Unlike war, which could be such a more interesting state of affairs if you stopped bombing each other and just started starving each other out. I mean, we've pretty much reached that type of environment with control of nature and food development and growth and harvesting that, we don't need bullets to attack each other anymore. We don't need all the bloodshed laying on the fields with grieving mothers and parentless children. Shit, let's get really creative. Next time we have a war, let's just start starving each other out. And at least then, at that point, those who are less fortunate and misfortunate can feel that they're in the front line of this war and they are well trained. Pretty pathetic, right? Ever entertained that thought? They are. They've done not only entertained that thought, but I'm sure that they have placed it into a processor and they have calculated the statistics that it come up with to see if this was a equitable way of disposing of human life and exchanging territory, land, and resources. I have one of my most beloved friends that has been a true inspiration to me in the chat. Lapis Blue. Vicariously, without Lapis even knowing, she has inspired me on many occasions whenever I absolutely was at wit's end. With just pictures of the sky, the moon, or even her outdoor fires and her observation in nature. For some reason, it just brought a new sense of perspective. And I'll always appreciate that, Lapis. That is something that no one can take. That is something that no one will be able to steal unless they like fucking snatch my memories or something, which I'm sure is on the agenda next. Somewhere along the line, they are developing a machine that will steal all your good experiences and memories away from you. And they're going to put an ordinance in place that if you commit a crime against the state, the government, or the powers that be, we are going to remove from your mind all your happy experiences and memories. And they will put a measurement on it. They will say, we're going to take, because of your crime, 1 whole year of your happy memories away from you. And you're not ever going to have those happy memories again because we now have a machine to punish you. And in place, we will leave all the horrific experiences that you've had to endure and endeavor. And you will, for the rest of your life, during that 1 year of your existence, remember nothing good. And I'm sure that machine's in development too. I do like to entertain possibility. And I think the same as instead of using weapons of war, just, get creative. There are so many aspects of hurting other people that we've really limited ourselves in what we are truly capable of. And the guise that this is in your best interest, or we're watching out for you, or we're here to help you, protect you, or keep you safe, Yeah. Right? MK Ultra. Let's get creative. I think that's what the endeavor into MK Ultra was an endeavor into the removal of safety protocols, because that seems to be one of the directions that they took, was to be able to take a person's mind and through means of who knows what techniques they were fully using, and allow this person to become a weapon that they could activate at their discretion. Dominique, how's it going?
Good morning, Axis. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, just rattling at the world, trying to get them to remove their safety protocols so that they can join in the possibilities of madness.
Love it. I've been listening for the last hour and a half. I didn't come up because I got kind of wounded myself yesterday, so I wanted to rest. But I've been hearing you, and yeah, you're always bang on in self-observation of oneself and how you extend it towards the rest of us.
Well, I got to remember that if I point a finger, there's three pointing back at me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to expect from others what I can't give of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm capable of entertaining ideals that are so foreignly removed from the common and the average, then I at least want to play on fair ground and give them the opportunity to retort to such things.
Unfortunately, most people become just spectators in their own existence, and they just assume everything is an external thing that's occurring, and they have no accountability for it.
Right. That's why I told you, whenever I first let you in on the fact that I had allowed myself to feel unconditional love for a person. I didn't put that on them. I allowed me to be that vulnerable. I allowed me to expose that part of myself. And when it took measure on them, they couldn't add up. That's fine. But that's on me. That was my doing. They just participated in something that they probably had no idea they were participating in. I didn't mean to. I was listening to you this morning on Charles, and I was digging what you were saying. I was there with you, and I didn't mean to. I didn't want you to stop. Maybe it was the company. I don't know, but I didn't. I didn't. I did. I don't know. I was enjoying listening to you, Dom.
Truthfully, I didn't really want to start. I didn't really want to start. I was like, when you actually started interjecting, it was a pleasant. I've shared with you before. I like to fall back into the background. I just, when I hear certain kinds of verbiage coming out of certain ways, I feel as though it needs an adversary or a different view onto certain kind of ways people handle things. One thing is to entertain possibilities. Another thing is to combat it with other possibilities.
Yes. Yeah. I can get that because even challenging my own ability to, such as starving each other out for a new type of warfare, or taking away the happy memories from your mind as a punishment for a crime against society or the state. I like to exercise these things, but they do come with certain certain concepts that, if these were to be used against me, these are not the most pleasurable places for the mind to work, but for me, they hold very great value and great significance.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure that wherever I'm able to expand myself to, there's probably someone, something that has already covered that ground quite extensively, and I am but an amateur and a child when it comes to that arena.
I heard the part when you regurgitated it here, where punishing us by removing some of our happiness or happiness. There's many ways to sell a concept. it would probably, well, I can't say probably, there's a chance that it could be promoted that we can remove all your sadness. And once you accept that, then they can then they can do the other part, the back end. There's many ways to sell an item, either through people's attachments or their resistance, or things that they just want no more of. So if somebody was going to have that kind of technology and say, do we initially presented that, this technology could actually remove your happiness, most people would resist it. But if we can remove all your things that you did, all those unwanted parts, would you take it? And people say yes. And then once that's in the door, everything's fair game. It's kind of like the concept of land. The way they kind of, my assumption, because I can say whoever they are, the way to take away land is to first convince them that they can own land. And once they have that ideal and they're attached to it, and then they'll defend it to no end, and then we'll get the same type of humans on the opposite spectrum to attack you. So now that becomes a perpetual cycle, the defense and attack. And most people don't realize how much they do that. Religion, state, you see that recently in the last couple of years using this new technology or this platform called YouTube, or, we can communicate with each other from a distance on the Earth's shape.
Oh my.
Throw in the Mandela effect, then you'll see how quickly people that are on a lower level of awareness, no offense to them, but they've chosen that, or they've been conditioned. They can thank their forefathers for that, by the way, because they can blame the other people, but it was your forefathers that were teaching that low hanging fruit. Where, oh, but I think it was this way. I think it was this way. I think, okay, so how would you even prove it, and let alone how would it serve you, whether or not the Mandela effect is or isn't? It's kind of like when people talk about, you have the camps that turn around and say, well, we didn't go to the moon. And then the other camp said, no, we did. I said, what about you just be that one individual and say, can you entertain the ideal? How would it serve whether they did or didn't go to the moon? And then you would understand, or in this case, they would understand human behaviors. Forget about whether or not we can speculate that maybe another species is involved.
Right. I can, if I want to hit on that, man, because that's definitely definitely reinforcing the message is, don't allow them to feed you your paradigm and your measurement. And that's what I'm seeing as a generalized state of the human species. They're being fed their paradigms. They're being fed their measurement. They're being fed their limitations or their extensions. And instead of becoming individual sovereign beings with their own capability for critical thought and self-awareness and understanding, know thyself, they hold their everlast breath on somebody else's input.
Actually, I think if there was ever, just come to me, a species, we'll play an entertaining ideal, a species that actually has manipulated the human race to a point where they're broken. It's like any war tactic, wound them, don't kill them. And then once we do that, then they're an easy prey. So if another species has actually overtaken another species and their reward was now we have to deal with this human race, well, what do we do with them? So again, I know this sounds arrogant on my part, but there's a part of me knowing I'm the student. It's about sharing this kind of information with the few, not the masses. Because when I share this, and there's certain folks that are infiltrated the system, meaning that one of the masses are in one of these few groups, I find myself, I can no longer be the student, because when I share out loud, I'm trying to understand what comes through me, where those folks are going to ask all kinds of questions like, oh, why are you doing this and that, or I already pick up the energy that they're being clever. They already know where they stand. But
yeah.
they want to ask another person so they can say, okay, well, what you're doing, I don't have to worry about it. Because, when you quickly denounce it, and say that's woo woo. It's just a lazy approach to say, well, how have I really respected that human being by hearing them out? This was never about, you know, my way is better than your way. But for most people, they've been conditioned that way. I said, okay, so let's go with that deal. It's been conditioned that way. Is it working? You know, most people never reflect on their own existence and say, you know, it's kind of like a Dr. Phil kind of approach where, you know, it gives the caveat of, so is it working? You know, because I hear you defending it all the time, but is it working? You know, people talk about that there's wars. Yeah, most of those wars, once you start tracing them, goes right back from within. There's something that's trying to communicate with you, but you're warring it. They think the enemy's within, when no, it's your illusion or your indifference from without. You know, most people might say that they care, but I'm thinking, if you truly did care, why would you be saying it? You know, it's like when people say they agree or disagree. I enjoy when I hear somebody says, Dom, it resonates with me. Thank you. But when you say you agree or disagree, I said, interesting. You know, and that's all I do. I say interesting because I'm not here to judge another judgment. Somebody said you've already said, Dominic, I like that. I'm like, okay, so what do you like? Okay, knowing what you like, then now I have to realize you've taken in the sweet part. What's the sour part of that? What don't you like? Dom, I love rap. Okay, so what don't you like? Why? Because that's the thing that's going to be the issue later on in this conversation. Outside of the fact that you're going to do everything in your power to justify what you like. And this is where religion runs, state runs, even commerce. Once people start finding out, well, I can't even say that. Once the few find out the system has been kind of hoisted up and certain folks can just print the money, you have to convince the masses, they start getting upset. I said, no, that energy of upset's already been inside the whole time. Something inside of you has been upset with you the whole time. You've been ignoring it the whole time. Now, I say jokingly with you because you've stated the recreational vehicle. That's I think the body.
Yeah.
It's a little pissed. Dumb. You keep going to McDonald's. Well, I don't go to McDonald's, but when I used to. But Dom, it's just the way I eat. Now, I might use my name in third person. It's always interesting when you say third person because, you know, person, persona, mask. I got many masks.
How about aspect?
That's a good word. A lot of the stuff that for me anyway, I share is for the few that, you know, if you're having those tough times or you're basically looking for another tribe member, we're here. But for the masses, no, those channels are easy to go to. You go there, you start backbiting about somebody else, bitching and complaining about somebody that's not even there, like governments, the Illuminatis, the elites, you know, those aliens are really mean. I'm like, okay, but where's your part in all of that? You know, oh, my family doesn't understand me. Okay, well, that's still about you. My family doesn't understand me. Then why don't you be the example? Be the example. No, don't try to convince them. You know, no different how they've tried to convince you to go to a schooling system or go to a church or a synagogue. Or does your family talk about flat Earth? Well, no. So then be the example. What's that? Well, that's for you to figure it out. I'm not here to do people's homework.
So you really caught what I was saying. The first stream that I started, I was having massive technical difficulties, and I could only get out certain ramblings. But with the second one, I was able to kind of sharpen things up. But from what I'm hearing, it touched base with you somewhere.
It reveals things that I've been pursuing. You know, I might have my own wordage to it, but it resonated when I hear you sharing. I'm like, okay, you know, because we get bombarded with all that other noise, and a lot of times we don't see when it's right there. Somebody is actually sharing their own personal awareness or struggles, whatever word they want to use to put on it. Enlightenment. I've leveled up. Okay, leveled up. So how long have you leveled down? What do you mean? Maybe you've gone so far that one little level up is now you're minus 48. You know, dare not ever challenge the ego, you know, the body, and the body will say, okay, so are we going to really have this fight? Because if I decide to turn on you, and it usually does, comes in the form of cancer. comes in the form of diabetes. The body's communicating. But at the same time, what is it communicating with? And this is where I emphasize it's communicating with the program. But I'm the program.
Right.
I said, well, you've been thinking that you're the body too. No, there is many bodies occurring here. I'm just using words, but for some folks, they can't even enter. Well, I can't even say that. That's the few again. The rest, fuck them. I'm at that point now, fuck them, because they still got to do their part. You know, it's not an insult me to saying the masses. I am still part of the masses. I'm going to go to work today. I'm part of that system. I'm going to enjoy some of the technology. I'm part of the system.
Yeah, I was just discussing that in the nature of healthcare and the monetization of broken people taking on those positions to help broken people. And my observation into that is that the people they're sending to help are more broke and more damaged than I am. I may be physically damaged, a little worse off than they are, but as far as my endeavors go, wow, you're sending the sick to take care of the sick and you're paying them. And that becomes a whole new take on where does that compassion start and end? At the dollar, at the commerce level.
I think Access, you know, because my dad did the same experience, and we'd be, you know, my mom's always kind of known that because she's always gone to the hospital even before my dad got sick and help other people. When you're around other people that are only doing it for they eventually settle and they're doing it for a buck. You can put that across any industry. So people that are in clubs, for example, same analogy. People that are in clubs, more times than not, they're already damaged. So what they'll do is they think, some of them might go in there thinking, oh, yeah, this is great, we're trying to help each other. But the majority of them have already taken their settlement. Their settlement is, I'm going to work for my comforts and I'm going to chase fiat currency. They might hide by saying, I'm supporting my family, I'm helping the human race. No, you've never been challenged. So, and when you start doing that, then you can say, okay, the club members, NASA, politicians, religious folks, it's all under the same category. You just see it in one industry, it could come in the industry, people don't care, or I'm in a gang. Once you're in a gang, you think, oh yeah, but they really care about me. I said, no, you're just a bunch of misfits. Dare not ever be challenged. You'll see exactly how everybody scatters like a cockroach. Yeah, but we have a code. I said, that is the code. You'll scatter like cockroaches. Now, the ones that have empathy, naive as they may be, they'll go into a system, they care about their patients, helping another human being, but eventually either A, they got to find tribe members like themselves to get regenerated, or they'll get squashed with the rest of them. And then they'll actually say, okay, I'm just not taking the red or blue pill while I'm with you guys, but I'm still with you guys. You know, so when it hits home, and it sounds like it's hit home with you, Access, it's been there for a while, where you get that, okay, there's an individual that I've met that they actually care, which is great, but they're going to be bombarded by the system too. It's kind of like the metaphor I use is a rescue dog. Eventually, the rescue dog is going to get tired of always rescuing dead bodies, so they have to actually stage a live rescue, but it's staged. It's not a real rescue at that point. So again, this is where when damaged folks, then they turn inwards and they start bitching and complaining. Well, I don't like the way the governments are. Okay, you're just damaged people complaining about other damaged people that have taken a bigger settlement. You give somebody enough money, it'll give them a temporary solution. And that's all it is. It's a temporary solution. It's not even a Band-Aid at that point. It's black electrical tape. You know, so again, okay, maybe white electrical tape, whatever fucking color people want to use. So because you don't want to offend anybody because you use the word black without understanding what it really means. But then you can't have that description with a person and thinking, okay, so I'm talking to you. You've indicated that I'm white. I didn't get offended by it, but I called you. I'm not even say the word black, saying that you're black. But I said, are you black? And they said, well, I am. I said, so there's the indoctrination. You believe that you're black, but then again, I'm holding a cell phone that's we classified as black. So how do I compare the colors now? But you know what I mean? I'm thinking, no. I already understand meaning of language. You're not black. You have to designate. It's like doing magic. You have to use the right tonality and the right wordage. You use the wrong wordage, you're not going to get the same effect.
Okay, Dom, can I use the wrong wordage?
Go ahead. It's all. It's, I don't know about wrong.
Because this is gonna
I said it.
this is gonna test the measurement of many people that happen to stumble across this, and this is really this is gonna test some resolve. But I like that. Shit brown. When you can get up off the commode and you can identify the color of your feces to your skin and it contains the same exact tone, why can you not be called shit brown? Because that's offensive. Why? Because of the word. And because of the relevancy of it's true, but we don't want to recognize that. We want to call it black or mocha or some other soft word. Fact is, shit brown, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we're just using words to describe it, but when we say it out loud, there is frequencies to it. So when I say a black phone and I say a black dog, I've already been conditioned to observe certain things and I describe it accordingly. But when somebody says to me that's a black pen and I'm clearly looking at it and it's brown, I'm confusing myself. It's like when somebody says, I'm dumb, I'm going to put a lot of effort now, I'm going to lose weight. I'm like, I said, you're giving mixed messages to your body. What do you do when you lose your key? Mentally, you try to look for your lost keys. So what do you say when you say to your body, I want to lose weight? Oh, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go into anorexic mode? Am I supposed to go into diabetes mode? Why? I said, because if you're saying for me to lose it, I'm gonna either have to keep gaining it, and then you're gonna get frustrated with me when we do the yo-yo effect. Now you could be shedding it, but then you're getting even that. What kind of word are we using if we're looking at a dog? Well, my dog's shedding, and a person says I'm shedding, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I said, did you say shedding body, shedding hair? Again, we're using a language. In this case, English is very meaningful, so it's not really a direct language. So we can have many interpretations. Go ahead, Axis.
I like to think of the concept that you're already dead. You just haven't got there yet. And as far as the relevancy of the spectrum of colors that I see you in, because of my ability not to see beyond those spectrums, how about I just recognize everybody as a decaying corpse on their way to that full potential of absolute rigor mortis? And we'll just even the playing field.
Well, the vessel could, it is aging and it's deteriorating after it gets to a certain point. I guess what came to me is either we're already dead or we're never there. Whoever's doing the communicating. The vessel is its own thing. Like when I'm talking to a dog or a cat, or I'm hearing a cat or a dog, I'm hearing what's ever coming out of its lyrics. I'm not actually communicating with its foot. And if I could, and I think some people can, then they don't have to worry about it coming through the mouth then again, or watching people's movements. That's why we have many, I think anyway, variations of languages. How a person holds a certain finger posture is a certain type of language, the posture part. How a person's eyelids wink back and forth, that could be a language. Everything is, a way to communicate. That's hence why I say language. It's just a lot of folks take it for granted, the amount of language they already do know, and they just think, well, I can't learn all those other things. I say, well, you're not appreciating all the language you already do know. Body language, numbers, colors, What other kind of language could I say that a person knows besides the speaking, a written version, and then realizing each one have their own purpose. It's just a lot of times we just kind of ignore how they interact with each other.
Information and movement is what I'm perceiving here is, interpretive information and your ability to interpret it and it becoming a measurement. That seems to be one of the guidelines of this species and the way it conducts itself. Um, I like the cerebral state of just pure thought energy without all of the limitations and without all the safety protocols. But upon that, I have to understand too that I'm living in a world full of other beings that are, here with me. And even though I'm on a completely different state of interpretation of that information, they're going to pull it into their relevancy. And they're going to take what I say, and just like the idol of conflict, they're going to either take one or two sides instead of it just being information. The energy of information exchange. It's when you apply a degree of measurement to it, is when it becomes something. Skin tone, distance, time, intelligence. And then you're measured by it. And that's just a state of things. People cannot understand not taking measurement of things. And when you start thinking outside of the concept of taking measurement of things, they fall off by the thousands and the millions.
Part of what this particular device does, it really overemphasizes on two senses, both the hearing and it will reveal where a person's at, where, as I'm hearing people and then we constantly look at chat and see more written work, it reinforces that. And of course, we're speaking in a certain language, English, so there's a lot of constant entrainment going. Hence, when I say the word anchor, it's anchoring here. It'd be different if all of a sudden somebody says, okay, I'm going to show you a sigil. Nobody's going to say a damn fucking word, and we're all going to look at it and meditate on it. And then eventually something might come from within and say, oh, I'm getting all these kind of messages. Yes. So this is what most of these channels are doing. A lot of people are not channeling on these channels. They're just too busy being fucking parrots. And I know sometimes I get a little bit crossy because I realize, get a piece of wood, get the fuck out of here. Them actually saying, especially the ones that want to talk about against the system as they want to earn money from the system. You're a hypocrite without even knowing it. They're an agent to a system. I would respect the guy that said, yes, I am an agent. I am really trying to manipulate people. Well done. At least we know where we stand. Well done. For most of them, they don't got a clue. Those are the guys that are on these channels wondering, so there's no way NASA could have been lying to people. Well, you don't think a whole bunch of people could work for them and them being unaware? It's the same thing here. Right across the board. Now there is, and I gambit. I go through a lot of the gambits, kind of like going to the library. I just don't always go looking for a certain type of section of books. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of range of books there. So it's the same thing on YouTube. There's a whole range of things in the library, and you can learn all kinds of stuff. Now, if you go in there, you do access, but if people can go in there with more of a beginner's mind, they can take in more information before they start assessing it. But what most people do is information comes in ever so lightly, come in, and they got to assess it. That's it. And they got to put it through a comb. I just don't like things that are green. Okay, so at this point, anything that anybody says, aha, you just said the word green. I don't agree with green. Okay, so you've interrupted the flow of the energy that I was trying to share with you, but I kind of already knew before having a conversation that you shouldn't even be here.
Thus, you just defined safety protocol.
Yes. You're just using a word to describe it. I really appreciate that, by the way, Access, because you're putting words to things. Like Judith does that. She can sum it up with a word, where for me, I might be like a machine gun. I have to use a whole shit different array of words. And this is where people get confused. I said, because I'm trying to share with more than just one or two folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones that get it, doesn't matter how I say it or how you say it. The ones that don't, or the ones that are teeter-tottering, the ones that aren't even in the same, park, forget about them. How did you get here by accident? No offense
I
to
clicked
them.
on the link.
Picked up on the wing. That's right. The hand signals. It might be a couple more lifespans before they even get to this awareness, which is fine. Maybe that's what I've done. And now I'm just hearing other fellows beings going around sharing. That's fine. To me, it's always important for sharing. Hence, sharing is caring kind of idea. When people are trying to debate with each other, let them have their debates. People that want to argue with each other, let them have their arguments. The ones that are cleverly looking to denounce something, let them have that. There's already enough dogmas out there. You fill your boots. You're looking for a guru, look for yourself. If that's what you value, if that's what they value, if they think that they're that important, whatever message they have, that other people are going to come to them and pay them, that's fine. For me, I'm just talking out loud. I'm hearing my own verbiage. And in hearing it, I'm like, how would that sound if I heard somebody else say it? No, I would be receptive to it. I wouldn't give a knee to it, but I'd be receptive to it. See, most people are either giving a knee or they're trying to kick you. I said, you're wasting a lot of energy on me. Why are you doing that? That is philosophy. Why? Why are you doing it? What's your discernment? Well, I don't know, Dom. I don't agree with you, Dom. Okay. Why are you even mentioning my name in that equation?
I was trying to explain that in the sense of AI and machine learning. People already expose all their vulnerabilities, all their limitations, all their measurements, every aspect of their own defeat. And then they want to fear and complain about this thing, this gathering of information, this algorithm, and talk about how dangerous it is, but it is a reflection of the whole collective that was fed to it. So you're looking at the whole in a mirror, looking back at you, and you've done revealed every aspect of your measurement to it. But when you find a point where there is no measurement being given, no information in, no information out, just observation, what does it react upon then? And I think that's a saving grace. I don't see that as, I see that as a defense and definitely a position to take to be able to survive that type of onslaught.
Well, access. I'm actually just getting ready also to go to work. I'll share this. This might disturb people or confuse them. I will say terms like, when I yip yap, I'll say, but I'm okay with it. There's a lot of folks out that I've met that are wounded and they call themselves healers. I said, why are you trying to heal? Well, I'm damaged or whatever. I said, okay, but are you okay with it? See, because we're living in this age of information, sometimes you can deal with your wounds after. Sometimes you just have to participate and be of service to others too. So when a person's spending so much of their energy trying to protect themselves, heal themselves, they're revealing they're not okay with themselves. Now, somebody could turn around and say, but I have to heal myself if I'm going to help others. And so then you're never really going to be okay. You're almost trying to complete yourself before you're going to help others. It's a given that most of us, if not all of us, are wounded. At that point, that's a mute point. So I know people are going to, let's do some crystals. Maybe we'll go to Jesus because he needs to save us. But are you okay with you? Are you okay in the situation you're in? People get those kind of moments when they're in a war savage situation and they realize that ultimately we're probably all going to die or we're all going to be suffering and all that. But something, they have that shift in their thoughts and say, something, but I'm okay where I'm at right now. And then at that point, then you can start sharing with others. It's kind of like the concept of if you still have to think whether or not you should or shouldn't vote, you're not okay. That should be a mute point after, and realize now I get to play. You can use the word play, you can use the word whatever, but I use the word play. I'm already knowing I'm in the illusion. Whatever I see out there, I'm never going to be there. I could walk there, but I'm still in here. Whether I'm a receiver from some other source, so be it. Literally word, so be it. So, that's what I get, energetically when I hear people say, yeah, but I'm doing this, I'm doing Reiki and all that. I said, but are you okay? Well, I'm trying to get okay. So then you're not okay. You think it's some sort of after motion. The only thing you're ever going to have is that moment. And in that moment, what are you going to do? You're going to reflect on some past wounded. Oh, in a previous lifespan, I was a warrior. What were you a warrior for? Were you against religion? Were you for religion? That's the whole perpetual defense and attack. I was fighting a worthy cause. Really? A worthy cause. And when did you deem that was worthy? These are the conversation a person, hopefully the ones that choose to do this, could have with themselves. And then they're going to have that revolting from within. And eventually it'll be one of those, Dom, tell me when you're done. Because you're not going to win this battle. What do you mean I'm going to win this battle? Because whoever said it was supposed to be winning and losing. And then they can start pondering other things. Oh, fuck, the clouds are pretty amazing. Where the fuck do they come and go? What the fuck? Whoa, sun and moon, what is that? What's this other guy talking about the luminaries? Opposed to, well, I went to university, I got a degree. I was raised in the ghetto. My father mistreated me. My mom overcompensated for me. I hear a lot of stories. And the way they say it, they're revealing openly, if people understand reading energy, they're not okay in their position. That's why people overemphasize on the me. Everything was done to me. So how do you not know you didn't affect others then? Under that same premise, if others affected you, then therefore you must have affected them. Well, that's different, Dom. Well, then fuck, everything's different then. At that point, I realized I'm not with the person that's the witness or the observer. They're a person that's experiencing things, which is fine, but they're not even doing it with consciousness. They're being led by their senses, but they've never even challenged them. And then they look at things. Well, we go to school, and somebody told me we got indoctrinated. Fuck, you're being indoctrinated with your senses. And no sense of blaming your parents because your parents didn't teach you how to breathe. So what the fuck did they teach you? Fuck all. Now, I say that in a very attitude because for most people, they built up so many layers of walls. How would they even fucking hear themselves, let alone others? Now, I say the word they're full of shit because, it is good fertilizer. Because if there's going to be any fucking seed planted at all, you should at least have some fertilizer. When somebody says to me, Dom, that's bullshit, I said, are we using it BS in a sense of belief system? Bullshit from Saturn? Which one are we talking about? Because what they thinking is like some fucking shit from a fucking bull's going to offend them. That's a child at that point, meaning that emotionally they're not developed. And I have to combat it, and it reveals myself. Dom, if you were truly developed emotionally, I wouldn't even be in these kind of channels. Because I know I get caught up in drama, trauma, entertainment. If it wasn't, wouldn't be watching TV. Of course, then you get those other characters. Well, Dom, I don't watch TV. Why don't you watch TV? Well, it's all kind of information that's trying to bombard you. I said, so then you don't have fucking discernment then, do you? You should be able to stand there and not be affected by it. Now, if you're going to turn around and say the technology called TV, it affects you, or you're trying to resist it, then why do you have another form called a cell phone? or a computer. Again, that's another child talking. Those are the ones, get some fucking duct tape or diarrhea, or get some adult depends for that fucking diarrhea of the mouth. Now they might turn around and say something about me. I said, I'm okay with going back into silence. No different. I'm okay to break it.
You've given me something to look at that I would like. I would like to maybe get your observation of. I wasn't angry or upset with the intrusive behavior at the I think it was yesterday stream. At the end of it, we had a couple of trolls that came on, and I kind of suspected them being trolls at the beginning, but I let them proceed to the point where I thought maybe it could affect my channel. But I wasn't angry because I wasn't angry at what they were saying. I wasn't angry at their behavior. That's just a part of the terrain and the environment. How could I be angry at it? I should expect it. And I wasn't upset with it. Would I allow that behavior to continue on? No, for the sake of being able to operate a channel, I can't. But that's a part of what actually brought on the endeavor of going live tonight was I wasn't the one being offended.
Well, it is your channel, and I respected it. It's just the energy. I already know the characters. It's when we stop talking about making it about our channel, about being of service to others. Those other ones, those characters, they know what they're doing, and if they don't, there's some sort of entity that's playing them like a puppet on a string. I get it. We can easily get indifference. You handle it, I thought, quite well. You were still going on the ideal of explaining to people about the issue, regardless of those people's intent. I already know when people ask questions, I already pick up their energy. They're better off answering their own question because they cleverly go around asking things, but they already know their position. And again, this is how this perpetuates it. The children shouldn't be in the room. They're not ready even to be in the room. And if they are, they need not to be speaking. And when they do, it's because maybe there's some wisdom coming out of their mouth, which is fine. Outside of that, wisdom in the sense of discernment. And even those gentlemen yesterday that were talking, I got it. I could hear it in their little voices, and I knew who the characters are. And I did a little spurt to see whether or not they're going to respond. They didn't. Because usually they're not going to combat something that's very strong force. So, but for you, it is your channel. I get it. But once we become attached to it, my channel, but if it is your channel, you're going to be worrying about being basically told there's certain things I can and cannot say on it. Well, then therefore it's not your channel anymore.
Right.
So I get it. It always equates back to reinforcing and anchoring. I need to earn money. I said, so it's from the get-go. I said, so do I go around panning for gold and it takes me 3 weeks to make $300, or do I become a prostitute and make the same amount of money in 2 hours? There's the difference. Now, but gold's more valuable. I said, it is, but what do you value the most? Do you value the property of gold, or do you value what it can actually do for you? What do you mean? Well, do you like your comforts? Well, yeah, then that's what you value. Most people value money. They've been so fucking indoctrinated over and over and over again. Prior to that, they were indoctrinated that I got to be in a form and I got to chase fucking food and shelter. That is another indoctrination. Dare not anybody ever move the layer of money and realize how many other fucking layers that's underneath that. But yeah, I don't want to be in this realm anymore. You don't got a fucking clue how you got into this realm, how you stay in this realm. Hold on, I don't believe in the word realm. I said, the fact that you just said believe, get the fuck out of here. Because that's another layer. I get it, Access. You've been in the music industry. You understand copyrights and all that. You're playing in the game. That's the system. And this is how we enable others. Because they're not standing out like a sore thumb. like a unicorn, they're not going to understand that because either, hey, what are you going to do? You're going to put them on a cross? Are you going to put them on a pedestal? Just by midday, by mid-afternoon, we're going to put them on a cross. Why? Because that's what the masses do to protect themselves. Protocols again. That's what they do. So knowing that, then the onus is on me, not them. Be wary who you entertain, Dom. Be wary of who's around you. It's not as though this is my first rodeo. It's not like as though, it'd be different if I say, well, Dom, I talk about this every blue moon. I've embodied this shit. And I get frustrated when I'm around certain characters. I said, you shouldn't be here. Please leave. How did you get here? This is kindergarten. Yeah, well, Dom, I'm in kindergarten. No, you're not even ready to go to school yet. Please leave. And I'm being polite. Outside of that, fucking, what else are we going to say to them? Because then I would be invading on them.
Or applying energy to that energy by even feeding, recognizing, or even complaining about it, or throwing up some type of resistance is contributing to the expansion of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it dissipate like a candle going out.
Being happy and being angry, at least they're still alive. It's usually the person that says, they'll sit there and I'm like, okay, are you consciously aware of being indifferent or are you just fucking unconsciously being indifferent? Because I didn't see any emotions being expressed from you one way or another. Well, and I played both parts. And I'll literally tell people, I'm playing fucking both parts. Now, but Dom, you're getting angry. I said the difference now, am I losing myself in it? No, I'm not. No,
I just chose not to feed the energy. It wasn't something that I felt was worth applying.
Mm-hmm.
And even speaking now, it's a waste of my verbiage to elaborate on it. I was just kind of curious as to your take on that, and you're giving me great insight on that.
Well, you allowed the platform to open up when I came on, and then Cage came on, and then other cares. So I just went with it. You know what I mean? I dozed off a little bit. I was listening to something else at the same time because I realized when certain individuals were talking, they weren't trying to share information to aid other people. It'd be different if they were just talking about themselves, and a lot of people do that. A lot of times they're just they think they're going to catch somebody in something. They've already thought that they're already aware. They know more than anybody else. They're condescending at that point, which is fine. They could be. They literally could be more aware of it than other people. But if they're going out trying to catch other people, I told you you're a low life. That's fine if that's what you want. But shouldn't that be better done privately? Public platform, there's already enough people doing that. It sounds like everybody wants the same fucking item at the flea market over and over again. Hey, what's the hottest item in the flea market? Well, the only item sold at the flea market right now are cell phone covers. Oh, okay. So what do you think you're going to open up if you want to be in a flea market? Well, if I'm going to go with the grain, I'm going to sell the same thing everybody else. I said, then you're peddling the same shit over and over again. Yeah, but it's the best selling item. I said, it is, but once you start spreading it thin, everybody's selling the same item, and that's what YouTube has become. It's a flea market with I can't say completely the same item, but most people, maybe the error is on my part at that point because I go to certain types of channels. I just try to keep it alive by going to different types of channels. More times than not, those are podcasts. Because the live channels, unless you have somebody like you, Access, that can deal with, even the other day there, I thought you handled it quite well. I just wasn't going to engage with those characters personally. But again, it's not my channel.
Yeah. I could. Well,
I've already dealt with them before. So
are you familiar with them?
Sure I am. They've been on. They usually go around trying to attack Cage on his channel. They're the same character.
Really?
Yeah, they're the same character. That's the only reason why they were there. They probably troll Cage a lot. Cage just handles it a little bit better now, so kudos to him.
Okay, I was unaware of that. I did not even know that these individuals were known.
You got the experience.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, now that sheds a little more light on the situation as far as their mode of operation and their motive. I just don't know that they were ready to get the response that they didn't get.
Mm-hmm. No, I had my verbalage with a couple, one of them anyway, a while back, and I just know enough now. He's not going to really deal with me, which is fine for me. It works perfect for me. It's like somebody. It's like an alpha dog, and letting all the other little puppy dogs play. They get a little rough, and eventually enough is enough. You give them a little, and then they just won't bug you anymore. Because there's a certain pattern they have to them. They ask questions, but they're not really asking questions. What they're doing is they're setting you up. They're kind of like creepy as I mean. They're a creeper that way. They're the guy that are stalking somebody, waiting to prey on them later. They're weird that way, and I just want nothing to do with them. Especially if I'm going to make it about me in those areas, it doesn't serve me. There's nothing wrong with being selfish as long as you know when to do it. Rationally selfish, I couldn't be with them.
Okay.
Now, I could be off in certain of those areas, access, but I'm versatile that I can offer other things for myself, let alone for others. So, but if I was just a one-trick pony, and then the person says, "No, I'm sorry, there's nothing you really offer me." Yeah, but I offer that. I said that doesn't serve me. So until you bring me something else that you can offer, become more versatile. You're very versatile, Access. You don't have to say that for yourself. It's nice when other people notice that of you. So if there's one thing that doesn't resonate with one person in that area, that topic, then maybe other things can. This is how we communicate. This is how we can relate with each other. I can't relate by being sarcastic with another person. That's not my cup of tea. I can be clever with people, but I don't like that character. And that's what it is. It's just a character. Eventually it'll become like a kernel in a computer.
Right.
Access, I'm gonna have to let you go. I'm off.
John, thank you so much for coming up and enlightening me on so much, and sharing your insight and information. It's all
That's all it is.
so much appreciated.
It's probably not even mine. I yap for it, and hopefully I can learn from it and say, okay, Don, how does that serve you? But I know with me and you, it's consistent, meaning that we're always going to share with each other. And in those moments where I feel like, I'm like, yeah, but I enjoy these conversations. Where other people, it's like they're trying to prove a point. It's okay. Tell me when you're done. Why? Because I'll give you the W before you even get started. Here's the victory. Now leave, please leave. Because that's what some folks want. They want to win an argument. They don't want to share with each other.
And that's a juvenile approach to forward momentum and and being able to comprehend.
It could be, but we've been a lot of people have been indoctrinated. That's what the whole concept of sport is. And then you put money on top of it now. So, they're not actually, people have arguments or debates, and there's a lot of money involved. At least it would be structured now. So, okay, guys, let's at least have some rules while we're dealing these debates. Most of these people, they're just flying by the seat of their pants. And they just say, well, I've just read the Bible. Okay, so what does that mean to me? It tells me that you just know how to read. And did you read it with a coffee? Did you do it with it? Was there a night light, like a night table light up over top of it? Were you in church? Were you in the office? Were you being bombarded by somebody else preaching to you? Well, Dom, exactly. I said, now you expect other people to be the same way? At that point, fucking want nothing to do with it. They're not even get to those people that do those kind of scripture reading or whatever. I said, how should you be reading it? When should you be reading the Bible on the full moon or the new moon? Oh, I never heard that before, Dom. I said, yeah, because it wasn't written in your fucking Bible, was it?
I do like that.
We gotta wait. Ciao, Alex. Have a beautiful day, okay, Axis?
You too, Dom. Thank you so much. Okay, that was That was definitely some digestible information. I hope that you all benefit from that as much as I feel I have. Much respect, Dom. Much respect. Your endeavors do not go unnoticed here. Yeah, how was your procedure um, received in your indoctrination? Were you wearing a bishop's gown? Were you wearing a priest collar? Did you have your Sunday best on? Were you presentable when you received this information? What was your environment whenever you took the endeavor of learning something new? And was it in the proper mode, position, and house that you did such that this dance could be performed effectively? How did they make you feel, fools and tools? Right? Hmm. Look how far you got. Right. Always a beautiful insight taken by fools and tools. If I haven't ever, I will take a moment to let fools and tools know that their insight, their wisdom, and their openness and communication is much greatly appreciated here and everywhere else. I do know that when I go somewhere and there's a chat room and I see fools and tools there, I know that at least something in that chat is going to be readable. The same with certain other individuals. They do have things to say that have and hold some type of um, value, insight, um, man. And those are much appreciated voices because they're so far and few. They are the far and they are the few. And they're the ones that are most welcome here uh, because I like the ideal of being able to entertain the lack of measurement that can be expressed. And some people really embody that. And they are the much beloved of this channel and this platform. And they make the endeavor that I embark upon much more fruitful because I know they're there. I know they're out there. Um, and it makes all the difference. Lest I be sitting in front of a brick wall and speaking aimlessly to educate each individual brick in that wall to something that it can't even perceive or comprehend. I know that this is life being expressed. And in some way, that's, to me, a mutual exchange of appreciation for one another's being. So definitely thank you, Dom, and thank you, Fools and Trolls. You guys, you guys are the few. Well, I see that it's almost time for the metaverse to start waking up and for everyone to be activating their platforms for their daily rituals and routines and their dose of drama for the morning so that they can carry on into the night with their endeavors and bitches and complaints and whatever may come or whatever may be. I'm just glad that for this moment in time, in this particular stream, I was able to express the possibility that there is much more possible than limitation, measurement. And I appreciate everybody that's been with me, listened, will listen, has heard, will hear. And I'm going to endeavor, probably on my way out into the metaverse, and visit a few of the back streets of YouTube and drop into a few residences and see what's going on to feed my ever needing addiction for input. Been a wonderful evening. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Fools, Dom, anybody that hears, has heard, or will hear. This is Access Out, and thank you all very much. And Lapis Blue. You almost got me. You're always in my heart, Lapis.